Really looking forward to our next fight at 185 pounds. We have the viral sensation himself, and yes, he's thrown something to that effect in his Instagram bio, in Joaquin Buckley, new Mansa, taking on Manzo, Alessio Di Chirico, the gym owner of One Gloria Fight Center in Rome, Italy. Matt, for Alessio Di Chirico, so far in the UFC, it's been a mixed bag. I mean, you look at his last 5 fights. He finished Oluwale Bamboche, who's no longer in the UFC. He beat Julian Marquez by split decision, and he's lost 3 fights in a row to former common opponent Kevin Holland. He's got a loss to Mahmoud Muradov, the money team's own, and he's got a loss in his last fight to Zach Cummings. And if you look at Joaquin Buckley, I mean, his 2020 roller coaster ride. He gets finished by Kevin Holland in a short notice booking where we saw flashes of brilliance. He flashed some brilliance in Sanganai's way. Matt, can you hit me with a little bit of
No, we ain't never no joke. Nah.
I was going to clip it in anyway. And then he had the win over Jordan Wright in his last time out. And Matt, it wasn't that long ago, about a month and a half ago. So Joaquin Buckley's enjoyed a ton of success. Alessio Di Chirico on the losing end of some fights here recently. And Matt, I go back to Alessio Di Chirico's last fight against Zach Cummings as one of those ones that just frustrates me, because there were a couple of pockets where Di Chirico looked like, oh, well, this is going to go his way. But Zach Cummings, like an old prospector, just kept walking him down, kept going in there, putting in that glory fight and fitness, or whatever the hell James Krause gym's called, and just kept pushing forward and really frustrated Alessio Di Chirico. It was a disappointing performance for me out of the Italian fighter, and that's about all I can say there for Alessio Di Chirico.
So Alessio Di Chirico has had a weird UFC run, and honestly, this is my favorite matchup Joaquin Buckley's had since entering the UFC. Kevin Holland, he was way too good for Joaquin Buckley at that stage in his career, and then you look at his last 2 wins over other sort of prospects who are in his category. For Di Chirico, win, lose, or draw, you do know what you're going to get. He is similar to an Omari Akhmedov, like we've seen previously on the card, where it doesn't really matter who they're matched up against. You know how they're going to fight. For Di Chirico, he doesn't really do anything all that great. He's just one of those jack-of-all-trades types. He is very clinch-heavy, and that's going to be the interesting part of this fight. We started talking about this a little bit, where fighters are going to meet different speed bumps throughout their career. They're going to have, what's the first fight where I'm going to take a bunch of leg kicks? What's the first fight where I fight a dominant wrestler? When's the first fight where I'm going to get frustrated? And this is going to be that fight for Joaquin Buckley. Because Di Chirico, it's not like he's going to go out there and win minutes by landing big combinations or hurting you. He's going to win minutes by holding you up against the cage and preventing you from doing that to himself. And it's not really a mark on his record or even the way he fights. That's how you get wins. Now, it hasn't really worked for him with the last stretch of opponents, and that may be definitely why the UFC's matching up Buckley with him. Joaquin Buckley, really, after the Impic Sanganai win, his career could have gone many different ways. He could have let all that success kind of go to his head, Andy Ruiz style, balloon up in weight, and never looked the same. But he came back and just really looked phenomenal. And the last knockout win that he was able to get, I do see this fight going very similarly to that. Because for Di Chirico, he is quite hittable, and that's sort of the story throughout his UFC career. Go back and watch the Julian Marquez fight. I know it was a win for him, but Marquez was able to land quite a bit. And for Marquez, yes, he was able to beat Phil Hawes. He's had some impressive wins throughout his career, but his UFC career has been just strange, if we're being honest. If new Mansa Joaquin Buckley is able to land the exact same shots that Julian Marquez is able to land on Di Chirico, he's going to go to sleep, and I don't think that's a secret. But Joaquin Buckley, there's still so many question marks through his style. A, how good is he on the ground? If Di Chirico is able to get him into that 3rd round, is able to take him down, and is able to sort of incorporate one of those Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou type game plans where it's, I'm not going to damage you as much as I'm just going to drain that gas tank. I think it could pay dividend for Di Chirico, and I really do think that's his best way of winning this fight. But for Joaquin Buckley, listen, if you go out there and knock out Di Chirico, people are going to start calling for you to start fighting those borderline top 15 guys. I don't know if he's ready for that at this stage in his career, but I do think if he is able to get this win, those are the type of opponents the UFC will start matching him up with.
I mean, the thing for Alessio Di Chirico, it's just frustrating to watch him fight because, you know, you could scream at your TV all day, throw more leg kicks, throw better combinations. He throws a lot of real looping shots to close distance. He kind of does the same thing with his kicks. He uses them to close distance.
And how wild was it? He was Italy's best chance to get a UFC belt at one point.
Yikes. Now Marvin Vettori is in the same weight class, but it's a really frustrating type of guy to watch, especially through these last 3 fights, because what regard do you hold Kevin Holland? Pretty friggin' high regard, I would say, after the win over Jacare.
All right.
Well, how high a regard do you hold Mahmoud Muradov? Well, if you're here every week, probably pretty high. I mean, it's not like Floyd Mayweather's throwing money at everybody and anybody to represent in mixed martial arts. How high regard do you hold Zach Cummings? Well, at 170 pounds? Yeah, 185 pounds? Maybe less so. I mean, Zach Cummings is a tricky fighter. His stand-up's good. His grappling's underrated, I would say. His wrestling's all right. But normally, if you're a fighter that can push a pace and you can push Zach Cummings up against the fence, you're probably going to win. Well, Alessio Di Chirico couldn't do that. And that's the thing. You saw Zach Cummings walking him down. What does Joaquin Buckley do very well? Well, he walks fighters down. His power is there. He's good from both hands. He throws good overhand shots. He throws good uppercuts. His jab's quite good. He can throw good kicks. Like, everything points to Joaquin Buckley. So let's look at the odds. Buckley opened to minus 275, still at about a minus 275. The lines moved a little bit for Di Chirico. At open, it was plus 235. Now the average on best fight odds is plus 217. Over on Tapology, at a 901 total votes, 93% have Joaquin Buckley, 79% have him to win by knockout. So, if I was going with Alessio Di Chirico, and if you are, let us know down below in the comments, because it is the hipster's pick. He's probably going to frustrate Impa He's probably going to frustrate Joaquin Buckley. He's probably going to try and throw some kicks to the midsection, to the legs to slow him down, and then he's going to implement his game plan. The trouble that I have with Alessio Di Chirico, and maybe he shored these holes up, he leaves himself open a lot when he throws those looping shots, and Joaquin Buckley, again, looping shots or not, Joaquin Buckley, when he connects, it's with a lot of power. It's with a lot more power than the last two guys that he's faced, and that's crazy for me to say it because Mahmoud Murdoch has a ton of power, but Joaquin Buckley right now is on one of those runs where we've got Buckley, we've got Chimaev, and a couple of other fighters right now that are really starting to break through. I expect, like I'm sure the UFC expects Joaquin Buckley to win this fight, and I'm going with Joaquin Buckley here.
I'll say Joaquin Buckley by Showtime kick because he's not going to get it, but if he does, I'm going to look like a genius. So I'm going to say Joaquin Buckley. He's probably going to win by stoppage. This is just really going to heighten the platform that he already has after that Impa just beautiful knockout that he was able to get. So 2021, it's probably going to be a pretty good year for Joaquin Buckley, and he's probably going to get off to a great start against Di Chirico.
And if we're wrong, we look like donkeys. But Matt, we're both going with the United States of America's own Joaquin Buckley to get the win. And overall, Matt, really good card. We still have Li Jingliang taking on Ponzinibbio. We have Matt Brown, Carlos Condit, and Holloway Kattar to look forward to on this card. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt, as we always say.
Let's get into it.